If people are there, good evening.
Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Jeff.
By my count, it looks like we have enough for a quorum. Carol, since it's after 6 already, you want to go ahead and start with the roll call?
Sure. Les Fremantle,
I'm here.
Dennis Wood,
Here.
okay, PJ,
Here.
Steve Meehan is excused, Steve Bricato,
Here.
Kathy Allen is excused, Tracy Weir,
I'm here.
Doug Bauer. Thought I saw him, so I'll go back. Jim
Yeah, I see
Vina,
his name.
Jim Vina, Jim, I think I saw you out there. I'm gonna.
Yeah, hey,
oh, wait a minute.
Carol, hang on one second.
Sure.
Hey, to everybody, if you're not talking actively, can you mute your microphones? It makes it really difficult when somebody's trying to talk and yours is cutting in on top of them. I think maybe people aren't hearing Carol.
Jim Vina, pretty sure he's here. Stan Wogaki,
I'm here, Carol.
flipping pages. Dr. McHugh, Dr. Daly, Steve Kroll,
Present.
Anne Marie Cross,
I'm here.
me. Lynn is excused. Jim Stairs is excused. Dave Lingenfelter, or Dale Lingenfelter, sorry. Okay. Scott, I know you're here. Steve Retzloff,
I'm here.
okay, good. Jeff Williams,
I am here.
okay. Maria has been excused, Maria Walker. Charles Welch, Ellen Bell, Alan. Thought I saw his name. Adam Fink, okay, I thought I saw Adam's name too, Adam Fink. Paul Segru,
I am here.
okay. William Rockensteiner,
Present.
okay, and Richard Salucci,
I'm here.
okay. And what guests do we have? I think I saw Mary Ramo. And Dean, I see Dean. Anybody else that I missed?
Carol, Deb Cuff should be on. Also, I see Alan Bell, Adam Fink, and I believe Dr. McHugh just joined.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Yeah, I thought I saw some of those names as well. Thank you. And is Jim Vina on? I thought I saw him too.
Charles Welch is in attendance.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
Harold, this is Jim Venna. I'm here also. I was having some audio issues.
Okay, I got you, Jim. Thank you. And Deb Cox. All right.
Looks
I
like
think
we have a quorum, Carol.
It does, yes.
Okay, excellent. All right.
Thank
So as you probably determined by now, Chairman Stairs is not here. He had another meeting that conflicted that he was unable to miss. So I'll be running the meeting tonight. I'll call the meeting to order now and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for joining me in that. I'm sure with your muted microphones, you were saying it right along. The minutes from the prior meeting, if everyone has had an opportunity to review them, I'll entertain a motion to approve them if there's no issues.
Scott, I'll make a motion.
Motion, I'm not sure by whom. It says iPhone.
I'm sorry, Stan. It's Stan Wogaki.
Stan Wogaki, motion. Is there a second?
Second by PJ.
And second by PJ. Any discussion? Anybody find any issues? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And announcement of excused members, Steve Meehan, Maria Walker, Kathy Allen, Lynn Kane, and Jim Stairs have all been excused. Executive Director's report. Tim.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Rather short report this month, but I guess that's okay every once in a while. It is worth repeating. We received full reimbursement for everything we sought from Homeland Security related to COVID-related expenses. If you remember, that was the decon plan, the electrostatic sprayers, the solution, and also staff time for processing New York City PCRs during the height of the crisis at the request of DOH. So that's good news. We just re-upped our opioid overdose program. We're good for another 2 years there. I think people should be aware. It was on the website. We circulated it throughout the region. Congratulations to Guilderland EMS Agency of the Year. Not much to report in training. All the classes that are in progress are proceeding as scheduled, and no issues there. Stay tuned for the winter class, working with Rich and JC to get that out probably somewhere right after the holidays. And the one I don't want to see is it's audit time again. They're going to be doing their in-house work. I believe it's the second week of December. Seems that comes around too fast every year. And welcome back to Deb's Cuffs. She's settled in. Things are running smoothly in med standards again. And that concludes my report. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions for Tim? Okay, cool. So under the chairperson's report, Jim asked me to share one thing with you. One was that was relative to the program agency consolidation conversation. Apparently, New York State was asked for some clarifications on that process and what that process would look like. And to date, there's been no reply to those questions. So right now that's in a holding pattern. Tim, if you have anything to add to that, feel free. Otherwise, I'll leave it as that.
Well, I'll just explain to the group what Jim meant. I asked Ryan, there's some discussion there relative to this consolidation and the contracts for individual program agencies. If we can operate as one unit off of several different contracts, or does the state want to or prefer to consolidate the contracts? We're waiting a reply for them as to how we should proceed on that.
Cool. Anybody have any questions for Tim about this at this point? That it would seem like there's probably not much to ask. Excellent. Nothing under issue. No, somebody.
I'm sorry, this is Dean. I have a question. Is this for Mountain Lakes and Arams, or is this all three, Mountain Lakes, Arams, and Remo?
Well, it's all three, Dean. We're asking DOH what would behoove us moving forward relative to that consolidation effort. If we operate off our individual contracts, or if DOH wants to consolidate and issue one contract for the three. And we haven't gotten an answer yet.
Got it. Thanks.
Anything else for Tim? All right. There's nothing under issue discussions, operational report, operational reports. Dr. Daly. Is Dr. Daly here? I don't see his name anywhere.
He has a 6 o'clock meeting that he should be off of shortly. I know he's planning on coming, so he'll probably check.
Okay, we'll circle back around if he gets here. Well, Dr. McHugh, if you want to go ahead.
We did not have a meeting in November.
Quick report. I love it. PJ, Treasurer's report.
Okay, nothing major to report. Obviously, we're in the first month of our operational period here of our next year. Everything looks fine and in order. We're going to talk about the education committee or not?
I don't have any notes on my agenda here.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the committee, the little committee that got together last week.
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry. When you said
I don't know.
education, I didn't make the connection
Okay,
yet.
I'm sorry.
I have it. Yep. We're
Okay,
gonna do it under new business. Yep.
okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem. QI report, I guess we'll circle back around for Dr. Daly on that one as well, since the other person listed on the agenda doesn't actually work here anymore. Deb, is Deb on the line? Maybe she has something to share.
Deb is on. There was no QI meeting in November, but just reporting that Emily Yates is doing a fine job with that, and my job is simply temporarily to support her in that. We're working on CARES, catching up some data on that she didn't know about, and that's it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Deb. Welcome back, by the way. For the CON committee, there's nothing actionable before the committee, so we did not meet. DOH disciplinary actions, I'll read these into the record. Of course, the month that I get to run the meeting, there's 5 of them, they're all long. So bear with me here for a moment. The ambulance service of Fulton County, agency code 1712, had their certification revoked effective 10/27/21, and they were assessed a civil penalty of $4,000 for violations of Article 30, Section 3012(1)F. Number 2, the Johnstown Area Volunteer Ambulance Corps, agency code 1713, had their certification revoked effective 10/27/21, and they were assessed a civil penalty of $4,000 for violation of Article 30, Section 3012(1)F. Robert Gala from Brooklyn, New York State EMT number 386759, had his certification revoked effective 10/27/21, and he was assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800.16 A8, Part 800.16 A11, and 800.16 A9. Matthew Martinez from the Bronx, New York State EMT number 469101, had his certification suspended for 1 year effective 10/29/21. The suspension is stayed pending no further violations for 3 years, and he was assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800.16 A2 and 800.16 A3. John Sinelli from Grand Island, New York State EMT number 113294, had his certification suspended effective 11/2/21. The suspension is stayed pending no further violations for 3 years, and he was assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800.16 A10. And that concludes the disciplinary notices. Informational purposes only, the course application that was received was from Saratoga County EMT. It's an original class starting on 12/14 and a refresher starting the week before on 12/7. There's no other correspondence, and so we'll move to committee reports. Executive committee, we had no reason to meet, so the executive committee did not meet in the last month. Finance committee, Mr. Kroll.
Good evening, Scott. I'm going to do a screen share for my report. And so this month, just a quick report on our investment portfolio, a couple slides. The finance committee has worked, PJ being a part. Can everyone see the screen share? Scott, is it available?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, thank you. The finance committee has been worked to come up with an investment policy statement, and the treasurer was part of that a few years ago. And so this is what we have, and this is as of September 30th, our portfolio. You can see there's 372,466 in the accounts being held by our investment company. Most of that, or 2/3 of that, roughly 62%, is in bonds. A small percentage, 6%, are in stocks, and 32% is in cash. The money that's in cash is essentially a bank account being held by our investment company. And I'll talk more about that in a little while. This is not all of Remo's assets. This is simply the assets that are under the management of our financial advisors. So there would be other the operating accounts that our finance director and our treasurer use on a regular basis. In 2021, our account activity through 3 quarters, you can see deposits of $100,000. and withdrawals of about $55,000. I'm sure you remember that throughout the last 18 months, Remo has had to make draws from our investment accounts in order to deal with cash situations. And I think as really receivables came in, those receivables went in back into the account. So that's what leads us to the balance of around $370,000. If you look at the annualized income over a 12-month period, we have about a 1.9% return rate. That is a 2.7% return rate with the cash excluded. And so to explain that, if you remember from earlier slide, about 32% of our money was in cash. Today, a cash deposit in a bank, the interest is almost negligible. So essentially 32% of our money was sitting in an account that bears very, very little interest. If you exclude that, the return of our investment portfolio annualized is 2.7% on our stock and bond market. So, and again, you can see here, that's what our portfolio looks like. So that gain is in that stocks and bonds area. So I have a few observations to share with the committee. Then I'd certainly ask if the treasurer has any comments he wants to make. PJ's been part of this committee as long as I have, and has been a core of our decision-making process. We did have to withdraw cash for investments accounts to help compensate in the delays in our receivables. Those receivables did eventually arrive, allowing funds to be returned. Remo has and continues to have an intentionally conservative investment portfolio. That's why you see more bonds than stocks. Cash holdings generate the least income, but they're also the most liquid in a time of volatility, and the last year or two has been a time of volatility. If the situation will be less volatile in the future, Remo could consider moving some cash to investments. Our RBC Investment Counsel, Jim Watkinson, generally guides us with additional investment recommendations. Bond purchases are consistent with our conservative portfolio philosophy and our investment policy statement, but on occasion, RBC recommends stocks that meet our portfolio objectives. So when you go back and take a look at this, the real question for the body to decide is in the next months and year is, do we want to hold 32% of our assets in the cash, or do we want to increase our investment holdings? So 32% of 372 is roughly 120, I think it's 118,000 in cash. So that's money that earns very little interest. It's held in a secure place, but it's not really being invested. And the decision for our group going forward is that the right amount to hold in cash, or can we invest more of it with the hope that in the next year volatility is less? So Scott, that concludes an investment update. There'll be one in early next year that will cover the full year of 2021, but I don't expect that there would be much change in the portfolio overall. We'll gain a little bit more if the fourth quarter is a good investment quarter, but the underlying assumptions don't change at all.
PJ, do you have anything to add before I ask a question?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I want to thank Steve for putting this together. It's a great presentation. Just so the body understands, that $100,000 deposit that we put in there, that didn't just float out of the sky. Basically, we had borrowed $65,000 the year before, so essentially we put in an extra 35, and then we turned around and borrowed 55. So, you know, we're nip and tuck there. So just so you understand. The other thing I want the body to understand, and we just had our small group of the education meeting, trying to come up with some rates for the educational fund, and it parlayed into a quite a long discussion, which was good. One of the discussions that came out was a suggestion by Steve, and I wholeheartedly agree. I'd like to get together maybe after the holidays in January. Tim, if you could put a couple dates together, maybe the finance committee and Jim and whoever else is interested, we could get together in person and kind of review our budget as a whole. I think it's time to overview it. One of the concerns I have is our cash balance. As I look back over the years, our cash and investments, basically at the end of September in 2018, just our cash and investments alone, we had about $529,000. In 19, it was 525. And then we hit 20. 20, it dropped down to 476. And out of that, we received $49,000 in PPE money. So if you subtract that out of there, we would have been at 427. And at the end of 21, end of September, we dropped down to 428. And again, we received during that year another 50,000 in PPE money. So if you subtract that out, basically comparing apples to apples, we would have gone from the 520s down to 378. So I think it's time that we review our budget entirely. And again, kind of overhaul and take a look at what areas are working and what areas are not. You know, it's easier to raise the flag now before we become a critical situation like some of the other areas that we're dealing with. So Steve, I appreciate your suggestion, and Tim, we'll check it with Jim, but maybe we could get together in January and start pulling this apart. Thanks.
Yeah, PJ, part of the seconded motion that's going to come forward later involves that and the finance committee. So we could talk about that a little bit more as well. And I think we all agreed to coming out of that meeting. I'm not sure who else is on the committee besides the two of you, so I don't know who else to direct the question to. But I recall, and I don't mean this to sound you know, like I'm criticizing the committee at all. I think we all agreed that we needed to stay the conservative course, especially during the pandemic. But I think now with, I'm wondering if you guys have had a conversation about this, now with inflation upwards of 5%, I would guess if you do the math that only gaining 2.7% on the other stuff and losing 5% on our cash, I think that account is actually losing money right now as opposed to making 2.9%. So just wondering what your thoughts are, if you guys have had any discussions, you know, outside of a formal committee meeting. Have you guys had any discussions or any thoughts about looking at our the makeup again of our investments?
Our investment policy is very conservative. There's no question about it. We can review that, and Steve, you and I will get together. And my suggestion is maybe we bring Jim back in to talk to us. Now that we've hopefully have gotten through the worst of this, maybe we can throw a little more money in there, and maybe he can come up with some other suggestions, and maybe we need to change our investment policy a little bit. So you're on mute, Steve.
Oh, thank you. I agree.
Yeah,
PJ. I agree, PJ. It's definitely worth looking at that. I'll also mention, Scott, that I know somebody volunteered to join the finance committee when Kevin Robert retired from the Remsco, and I don't remember who that person is. So there is at least a new interested party that we'll have to figure out who it is to work with us. And the other thing I'll mention is we have always kept the investment portfolio extremely conservative because of the volatility. You know, this is not a retiring in 2050 kind of portfolio that a person can take aggressive risk and see a swing of 20 or 25% in a year and then have 2 or 3 years to gain it back. This is a business portfolio. That said, we can always make target investments. And what I tend to do when I rebalance my personal portfolio is I'll look at what's in cash and say, maybe I don't want to change the investment character of my bonds and stocks, but maybe I want to take some of my cash and I want to have a little bit more of an aggressive posture in the short term. And in talking with the finance folks over the last couple of months, everybody is mystified as to when the correction is going to happen in the financial systems. It's going to happen, but if you look back at all the last several cliffs the financial system has gone off, it's all gained back over time. So it may not gain back over the same, a big drop happens in a matter of weeks, and it may gain back over a period of months to years. So we can definitely look at that and being a little bit more aggressive. And the only other comment I'd make on inflation is while inflation is in that 4 to 5% range, if we look at our cost of goods sold, I think our rent is pretty solid on a year-to-year basis. I think our salaries are pretty solid. That doesn't mean we won't increase our salaries or we won't increase or our rent won't increase over time. but a lot of our expenses are different than perhaps the consumer prices. And so maybe we have a little bit of protection from that inflation.
So we'll see if we can get together in January. Does that sound good, Steve?
That sounds great.
Okay.
We got a lot to work on in January.
Yeah, we got a lot.
All right, thank you, guys. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Kroll, you still got the floor. New York State EMS Council.
Okay. Well, the Vital Signs Conference was held, and I think we met we met and you received a report on the last New York State EMS Council meeting. Vital Signs Conference had somewhere around 500 in person, 300 online. I think the big announcement for everybody here in our region is that Gilderland EMS received the New York State EMS Agency of the Year Award that was awarded a couple Sunday mornings ago. And that's great to see an agency from our region win one of the statewide awards. The New York State EMS Council will be meeting now 4 times a year. The dates for all of next year have not yet been settled, but there will be meetings in the beginning of January, and those dates will be out shortly. And I think I described most of the discussions about the overall workforce situation and difficulty we're having in the EMS system and the formation of the new advisory groups and committees to look at those at our meeting here last month. So I don't need to recover that. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Steve. Nurses Committee, Anne Marie.
Hi. So we met on November 18th. It was about a half-hour meeting. We didn't have a lot of participants. We had about maybe 6 or 8 of us. You know, we had decided at that meeting that we would like to meet monthly, even if it was just for a short period of time, just to kind of, you know, catch up with each other and network and, you know, discuss best practices. So we talked about COVID and what are some of the, you know, the things that people are doing in the different hospitals and cohorting and all of that. We talked about how the numbers were increasing, and of course, just from November 18th to now, they've probably doubled in all of our hospitals as well. We're all holding COVIDs in the, you know, when we come on, in addition to the regular holds that we have in the ED, we're holding a lot of COVIDs. The hospitals, you know, are filled, and, you know, there's a lot of the hospitals are have closed beds due to staffing issues. So we had a big discussion about staffing losses to agencies, and, you know, Saratoga reported we had 6 that left to the agency. Ellis and Albany Med said they had a mass exodus of nurses to go to the agency, and everybody's feeling the same thing. They're going to different hospitals, and I think the thing that probably the difference now with the agency is that they can get a contract right within the region, just because everybody's experiencing such, you know, critical shortage of staffing. Prior to this, many of them found themselves going out of the region and really didn't want to travel per se, but they're able to almost pick whatever hospital they want to go to. So it's affecting everybody, and you know, really the staffing crunch is you know, is there for sure. Dr. Daly talked about the MIST form. He said it has not been officially approved yet, but it is being used at Albany Med. So we're all looking forward to kind of get that going. I think that'll be a great advantage to all of the ERs. You know, we were looking at the EMS. He was looking at the EMS turnarounds. He said the region's looking at that, and he said that Albany Med and St. Peter's were talking about working together due to the commercial ambulance agencies not being able to handle the current patient loads. So we talked about the wait times of ambulances and all the things that we're trying to do to try to offset that. And then we just again talked about the inpatient mental health holds. I'm sorry, the ER mental health holds, waiting for inpatient beds. And, you know, that's really increasing in all of the EDs. And we talked about, you know, how everyone is trying to manage that. So we decided that, again, that we would meet or that we would get on another call monthly. So we will have a call in December. And that's all I have to report. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, great. Thank you, Anne Marie. MCI Committee, PJ.
No report.
Very good. The Membership Committee, we did not meet for any particular reason, and there's no report. Maria's not here for the nominating committee, the awards committee. Carol, anything to share?
No, no report.
Okay, great. Dr. Daly is on the call now, so we're going to loop back around. Dr. Daly, I guess if you want to just wrap up medical director and QI and any other things that you have to share all in one report, that'd be great.
So I think the most important thing, or a couple that have popped up most recently, QI projects will be ongoing. There are a couple of different directions they're going to go on, and I need to work with Emily on a couple to make sure that she can acquire that data appropriately and easily, most importantly. A couple of things I want to touch base on first. Amory commented the MIST was not yet approved. The MIST form is indeed approved by the REMAC. The advisory about the MIST has been issued. I've gotten a couple of questions along the way about how it should be used. I think the most important thing for us to remember is, like with anything else that someone in pre-hospital care does, it all applies to the protocols. The first comment in the protocols is that the protocols are not a substitution for good clinical judgment and common sense. If a patient requires more information to be passed along that can be written briefly on a MIST form, and that patient cannot speak for themselves and is not safe in an emergency department waiting room, that's someone that absolutely needs a verbal handoff to a nurse rather than just drop off of a paper form. And that's really important to remember. It's hard to write down, please use common sense in your best judgment and not be snarky. And I never would want to do that. I'm sure the chair can attest to that I would not want to do that. Couple of things I just want to bring forward to this group. The first is, you probably read in the paper or saw in the news what happened at Rosewood over the weekend. So Rosewood is a nursing home in, actually, I think it's in the city of Rensselaer, but it's between sort of right across from the Target in East Greenbush. Rosewood had a problem where they had a couple of staff members that were working the overnight shift. They went off and left. They had a couple of people who were supposed to work the day shift. They didn't come in. So there was no handoff by nursing to from night nursing to day nursing, and all the nurses left. I can only comment that the staff that was there was spectacular, and the non-licensed staff in that facility really stepped up to take care of their patients. EMS was called by one of the residents who was looking for their insulin shot and called 911. When Bruin arrived, they realized that there were 74 people there in a nursing facility without nursing, and called a Remo doc and Albany Med's division of EMS. Basically, the entire division went over to help out. Between Mohawk and Bruin and some really aggressive administrators over at Rosewood, trying to put things back together again, and then a really fantastic response from the Rensselaer County Department of Public Safety and the State Department of Health, who responded, including a deputy commissioner of health. They got the facility back into at least an operational status for the day. I think all of the pieces that could work to assist in that situation worked out really well. The Department of Health was an extremely good partner in this, and I thank them for that. Steve DeZura in particular and Mary were really key, I think, to helping make sure that we had the right resources in case we had any issues. And most importantly, because Bruin's paramedics and EMTs and Mohawk's paramedics and EMTs were able to stand by and assist in the facility, we had no need to transport any patients from Rosewood, which ultimately was the goal, and that worked out really well. So thank you to everybody that participated there for ultimately some crisis management and everything working out well. And last, I just want to talk about COVID for a minute. I'm sure none of you have heard of you've heard of COVID, right? But COVID unfortunately is spiking its ugly little spiky head again in a big and bad way. I am extremely concerned as to what happens next week after Thanksgiving, when people will get together with family and friends and probably do some pretty good transmitting of this thing. Right now, some of our local hospitals are chock full of COVID. There are only a few ICU beds left in the region. There are efforts being made by the Healthcare Association in partnership with some of the hospitals to try to put together a clearinghouse to be able to move patients from one place to another. And we have already seen hospitals impacted by the vaccination mandate and need to close services significantly. Folks, Ellis went on diversion over the weekend. It was a significant impact in the county and city of Schenectady. I would expect that we will see further situations similar to that as hospitals get to crisis level. If you get information about hospitals being in crisis, pass them on to Tim. Tim will share them with Rob and myself. We'll do what we can to assist with this on a regional basis and make sure that the State Department of Health is engaged when appropriate. It's not going to get any easier before we get through this. So patience, everybody, and let's try to find ways to make this work. That's all I have, Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Daly. Let's see, county reports. Albany County, Dennis.
Albany County, nothing to report.
Hey, I'm sorry, Scott. Charles, did you have a question for me? I saw the hand go up.
No, I just wanted to comment, Scott, and the group that I echo Dr. Daly's comments. Regionally, we're seeing for at least the last week on the order of 200 hospitalizations due to COVID. The demographics are changing pretty dramatically, skewing towards the cases being younger. So encouraging people ages 5 to 11 to get vaccinated is a key strategy, as well as mitigation and interventions that the school districts are trying. But I share with Dr. Daly's concern that we're seeing increasing high cases in Albany County, consistently over 100 new cases each day. And that's very troubling, especially with the holidays ahead of us. We understand that many of the pharmacies are now stacked with the rapid tests. So that's a good resource. We don't know how long that will last.
Very good. Thank you, Charles. And thanks, Dr. Daly, for seeing that tiny little hand sticking up there. They should make the hand like a big hand that comes up like over the whole screen. But in any event, continuing with county reports, Columbia County, Steve is excused. PJ, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, the Board of Supervisors has passed a resolution authorizing us to enter into an agreement with UCM Digital for telemedicine at our 911 center. So we're in the process now of working up a policy together with reviewing that with all the agencies in the county so that we can implement that. So stay tuned.
Very good. Greene County, Steve.
Nothing specifically related to Greene County, with the exception of the fact that I don't know if this has affected you in Albany County at all, Scott, but Delaware County, specifically the town of Stamford, is having significant issues getting agencies to respond to them mutual aid. They do not have a transporting ambulance agency. They had been using AMR. So they have been regularly contacting Greene County for both medic and transporting ambulances. I can tell you that the ambulance agencies have sent letters to Delaware County saying that they will no longer be responding. I know Schoharie County has done the same. So I don't know what their plan is, but it's certainly impacted Greene County. And that's pretty much all I've got.
Thank you, Steve. No to Albany County. We've not had any requests to go that far. Rensselaer County, I think Kathy is not here. I'm sorry, I forget who the other representative is.
There is none.
There, yeah.
That's why I can't remember. Saratoga County, Tracy.
We're just continuing to give boosters out to homebound residents.
Very good. Schenectady County, Jim.
Nothing relevant to report.
All right, sounds good. So moving on to new business, the committee that was created to discuss the Remo EMT class cost and how that was going to get administered going forward met last week. Like PJ said, it was I think we probably all thought it was going to be relatively short, at least an hour or less, and I think it turned into closer to 2 hours. But it was a good meeting, and we actually did end up kind of diving in a little bit deeper into some other issues outside of the EMT class. And Steve Kroll brought up some good issues relative to what we use the money the revenue that's generated by the EMT classes for, and basically questioning, I think, Steve, I don't mean to put words in your mouth if I'm saying this wrong, correct me, but basically trying to balance the mission and the finances, and feeling like part of the mission of Remo is to deliver EMT education, especially to those agencies who may otherwise not have access to courses, balancing that with the need to generate revenue and pay our bills. And trying to strike that balance and do it in a way that doesn't hurt some of the smaller, primarily volunteer agencies that use Remo for their EMT classes. So after a lot of discussion, I put forth a motion that was seconded, and everybody agreed to. And so I have a seconded motion from the committee that I'm bringing forward to you. I'm going to read it, and then, like I said, this is a seconded motion already, so I'll read it as a seconded motion, and then we can have discussion on it in case anybody has any questions, which I'm sure some people may. So the motion is to, 1, no longer accept vouchers as payment for EMT courses. 2, expect payment upfront for all students. 3, assist any agency in need of administrative help with the state vouchering system. With the state vouchering process. 4, continue to charge the existing fee structure for affiliated and unaffiliated students for courses beginning before May 1st, 2022. 5, continue the existing policy of refunding money in extenuating circumstances. And 6, the chair will task the finance committee to further explore student demographics, the fee structure, and whether or not EMS education, i.e. New York State certification courses, is the tool Remo should be using to ensure solvency. The term, quote, affiliated means that the student is a verifiable member of an agency within the Remo region. So that's the motion that's brought to you tonight as a seconded motion. I'll open it up for discussion.
So basically, it's going to be $900 to take a class.
So the gist is the course for an affiliated person would be, so I'll back up and just start at the beginning. An affiliated person comes to Remo and wants to take a class. Either the agency or the person needs to pay the bill up front. So the design here is to shift the risk from Remo, who has no control over what the student does after the class is over, whether they take the test, don't take the test, take it in a timely manner, take it while the information's still fresh, et cetera, shifting that risk to the student and or the agency. Presumably, if an agency is going to voucher for a student to come to their class, if they're going to voucher the state for that money, they'll front the money, then support the student through the class, make sure that they take their test, they'll pass, hopefully, and then the agency can voucher the state and get their money back. The only expense that would really be out of anybody's pocket would be materials. And I don't know that exact dollar. I asked Tim earlier and he told me, but I have since forgotten. It's $200-300 or something for the book, the blood pressure cuff, stethoscope, all, CPR, all that other kind of stuff. If a person is unaffiliated, the agency or the student would pay the full amount up front, which is $1,000 plus the materials fees. And then, if they happen to be a member of an agency later on and they just didn't realize what the vouchering process was all about, maybe somebody can get that money back for them down the road. But ultimately, the assumption is we're talking about maybe college students that are trying to knock out an EMT class during the summer, or somebody's looking to take a class because they want to go out and get a job and start working in EMS. So those are the two different scenarios and approximately what the courses would cost and how the money would flow. Does that answer your question, Paul?
No, because, well, right now Remo charges $700 non-affiliated, $200 for the fee. So that leaves you wiggle room with a class of 20, assuming 14 or so labs, 5 instructors. And I think this is what Tim's been getting at. This is a money loser at $900.
For an unaffiliated, it would actually be, I think the current, Tim, hop in here, but I think the current fee is 1,000 plus materials and fees for an unaffiliated person.
Correct. And the that admin amount is actually a little more than 200. I think it's somewhere around 300 change. That includes the textbook, the CPR, the admin costs, the stethoscope and blood pressure cuff everybody gets.
So again, this would just essentially, for the time being, until May, it would lock in our current fee structure. The only significant change is that it would shift the risk from Remo to somebody else. So the risk of a person taking the class and not sitting for the test at all, or waiting so long that they've forgotten the information and then can't pass it, or whatever the case may be, that risk is no longer on Remo's shoulders. We will have gotten paid for the course up front. And then the charge of having the finance committee work on the rest of that on the backside prior to May 1st, we can develop a policy that fits with the organization's mission, fits with our financial needs, gives us a chance to examine student demographics. One of the questions that came up during all of this was how many students actually come to us from small volunteer squads, i.e., less than 500 calls a year. How many students come to us from outside of Albany County at all? I think anecdotally, we all feel like most Schenectady County residents probably take a course in Schenectady County, Saratoga County residents take them in Saratoga County, et cetera. And so we kind of feel like, maybe we're only talking about this affecting a handful of agencies at all. But this will give the finance committee an opportunity to dig into the finances of all this a little bit deeper. But at least in the short term, be able to charge what we are already charging and shift that risk to somebody else.
I have a question about the fee schedule.
Go ahead, Dean.
Does the actual education cost more for an affiliated student versus an unaffiliated student?
No, I don't think that it does. Obviously, that was a rhetorical question. I think that the mission of Remo serving its local agencies is basically trying to give them a break on that fee. So it's not that it costs more. I would think of it in terms of the course probably is $1,000 course to begin with. the affiliated students are getting a little bit of a break because they're going to be helping out an agency that's in our region, and they're not just a person passing through the Capital District over the summer. That's, maybe they're up here for school or something, and they're not from our area at all.
Okay, thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions, or is there anybody from the committee that wants to share any other thoughts? Steve?
Hey, Scott. Yeah, two thoughts. First, I would like to say that the committee, I think, worked really well together to come up with a thoughtful temporary situation and compromise. And so I just want to compliment everybody for working together to do this, realizing we have much more work to do. And the second thing I would like to mention is that, Scott, I think you didn't mention this one other aspect we had talked about, which is that Tim has the full support of the committee and hopefully of Remo if we don't have enough students in the class to make it viable to not hold that class.
Yeah, I did not type that part into it, as I had taken away from the meeting by the time we talked about it a second time. That issue seemed to be an old issue back when someone else was chair, and Tim caught a ration of poop and unnecessarily so, but that's not been an issue since then. And so I did not include that in the language of the motion. But I'm certainly open to amending it, and I'm certainly open to a separate motion altogether.
No, I'm fine, Scott. That's good.
Does anyone else have any other questions about, kind of how we came to this conclusion, how we worked through this? And, I think, again, to Kroll's credit, I think, he raised some good questions relative to, what are we really basing the price of the class on? What's the real purpose of the class in terms of financial gain? Should the class just be breaking even? And we have other means through which we ensure our agency's solvency. There's a lot of really good questions there, and I think those questions were not questions that committee was really tasked with answering, and probably need to be talked about at the finance committee and then brought back to the entire body. So that's why that was part of the motion as well. Does anybody else have any other thoughts, questions?
I'll make the motion to support the motion as it's written. How's that?
I don't know that you need to make a motion to support a motion, but
I'll support the seconded motion. How's that?
I think all I have to do is just call for all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed to the motion?
Yeah, it's Paul Segru. I'm going to go no. I mean, I still see it as, with that price, a money loser. I mean, it should be at least a break even. It doesn't need to be a major profit, but it needs to be a break even. I think if you're doing,
I appreciate the commentary with your no vote.
So, all right.
And I'll be sure to let Chairman Stairs know that you've volunteered to join the finance committee.
Sure.
So I have nothing else under new business. Does anyone else have any new business? I have nothing listed under old business. Does anybody have anything under old business that I'm not aware of?
Yes, Scott, this is Charles Welch. Whatever happened to the initiative to address, I guess, mental health first aid with first responders? We had presentations a little over a year ago, and we were going to focus on that in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what the status is. Do you recall that?
So from a regional standpoint, I don't. And I'll ask maybe Tim or Dr. Daly or Dr. McHugh to chime in. As you are probably aware, at Albany County, the sheriff's office and the mental health office have worked together to create a program that is working really well. Right now, it's still a pilot program in only part of the county that has a group from SUNY Albany that's collecting data on the calls. And once all of that is wrapped up, I suspect that it'll move forward from there to larger parts of Albany County. As far as what other counties, what's that, Charles?
So that's great, but my interest was we were focusing on EMS providers and the stress that they were dealing with.
I think from a regional standpoint, I think the last meeting was about November of 2019. And it kind of fell off as everyone diverted towards COVID. Because I don't think we had many Zoom meetings. I think we had an in-person meeting, and then it kind of people went their ways to deal with COVID. So I think we need to look into re-energizing that group.
Yeah, I apologize, Charles. I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, I just continue to have concern about the stress that EMS providers are facing, on a daily basis, and just didn't want us to lose sight of that.
Does anybody recall who it was or what committee it was that was taking up that conversation? Was that an academic committee topic, Dr. McHugh? Do you remember?
Sorry, coming off you. Actually, it was, I think Travis from Mountain Lakes was kind of taking the lead on a lot of it. It was between the three regions that we were working on it.
Okay. I know that there have been some initiatives from some organizations outside of the regions. I've seen continuing ed offerings and other topics available, coming through my emails and that kind of stuff. So I know that there is some stuff going on, despite the fact that it may not be from the three regions. So I don't know, Tim, maybe you want to follow up with Travis and just see where all that was left off and see if anybody has any thoughts or ideas on reigniting that conversation.
So there's a group of people primarily from out west, but with some local providers, including Tom Corcoran and Drew Anderson locally that have been working on some initiatives in this area. I have not had time to keep up with those initiatives, but perhaps Steve, you could reach out to Drew and see whether or not he'd be able to update this group at our next meeting.
Kroll, I think that was for you to reach out to Drew. Did you copy that?
Or I could.
Yeah, I could do the same.
Excellent.
Mike,
Thanks, Scott.
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. Somebody will get in touch with Drew and see if maybe we can get him at the next meeting. Any items from the floor? All right. The next meeting date, much to my chagrin, as I'm sure many of you remember, I'll be happy to entertain a motion to cancel next month's meeting if somebody wants to make it.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I just need a name. Who made the motion?
Steve Retzler.
Steve Retzler. And who seconded it?
Will Gaki.
Captain Will Gaki. Any discussion about that? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So we'll see you at whatever the January meeting date is. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sure you can figure it out.
I believe
And
it's going to be January 24th.
that sounds good. Thank you, Tim. How about a motion to adjourn? Would anybody like to make that one?
I make a motion, we adjourn. This is Jeff.
Jeff Williams, motion.
Second.
Give me a name for a second.
Al will
Thank
second.
you.
Second. it.
Aye.
Got it. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving, good Hanukkah, good Christmas, or whatever other holiday you may observe.
See you, Scott. See you,
Bye.
gang.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thanks.